long discussion about the wonderfulness of those keys and how
Oh
much
my
we love them.
gosh, I mean, I was already a few minutes late, they're lined up right across the door.
Do you think we'd be in trouble if we had a goose dinner tomorrow?
Do we want to put the front door teams the way that it is on the other sheet?
So, for now, yeah. Unless you and I want to figure out different names for them, but I'm pretty satisfied with those.
Where did you have the, oh, was it lobby team?
Mm-hmm.
It was this one?
Yep, that one.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
And I think that those ones would have a lot different spiritual gift rankings than just the just service, because a lot of these are you're out in front of people and doing stuff like that.
What's
All
that?
right, so, pastor's breakfast. I got the names from you, I think, Mike, who got them from you, Logan. And speaking to Sherry, she checked the database that she uses, and I think she said there were 4 names on her database. So she spoke with you, and you decided to use a different type of database.
Yeah, so the one I was looking at was MailChimp. So the ones she has are from strictly the Connect cards. And the ones I have are from the Connect cards and from people that signed up for like our newsletter
Okay.
on our website. So I was thinking it might be good to just extend the invite to those people. Maybe if they get like an email from a church saying that they have the opportunity to sit down with a pastor, that might like spark their interest to actually come and check
Yeah.
us out and learn more about us. So I was thinking of doing both, the people that we have internally and then the people that we have externally. So.
Okay. So I think we have 2 tentative dates. Is that correct? In April.
Yep.
For the breakfast.
Okay.
What I'm most interested in is just how this all happens in terms of getting the people on the database,
Okay.
sending them an invite letter, and
Mhm.
getting an RSVP back.
Okay.
So
So what I was thinking is through CCB, you can create forms. And so I was thinking of creating a form for specifically the pastor's breakfast, and then attaching it to the email that I'm gonna create.
Okay.
And then that way they can have a list of the dates and like a cool picture and then something that kind of catches their eye. And then I was thinking you could type up like some sort of formal invite.
Yeah.
That way I can just plug that in. And then
Okay.
I'll just have a big like button that says RSVP here, and they can click
We
it
got one day, April 7th,
one day.
for all of them.
Okay.
Right.
And then knowing that some people are gonna cancel out and show up at the last minute, then we're gonna catch them along with any other new ones that come from Easter on April 28th.
Okay.
Now we got our catch-up date to get the rest out.
So we'll send out the April 7th one first,
Right.
and then we'll do the April 7th, and then whoever we don't
And
see.
April 7th is for the ones we know about currently.
Right, and
Which I
then
believe was 10 folks, wasn't it, Gail?
Yeah.
so that'll be pre-Easter, and then post-Easter we'll do a April 20 what?
28th, I believe it's the last Sunday of the month.
So April 7th is the pastor's breakfast, you said?
Yeah.
That's what we
That's the
tentatively
first
said,
one.
yes. And Steve is aware of it.
Okay.
And then the 28th will be for those new ones that come from the Easter stuff, and also then those that didn't make it for the first one.
Okay. So what would you like me to include in the form? So like when they're going to sign up, what information do we need? Like
Well-
if they have kids.
Yeah, they would include the date that they're coming, how many,
Okay.
number of children would certainly be helpful.
Okay.
Did we decide on a time for the breakfast?
We had 9.
Should we decide on a time for the breakfast?
I just figured probably 9 o'clock, is what I kind of figured.
Okay.
I was thinking 9 to 10:15.
That way, by the time they get here, by 9:30 or so, you really want breakfast today. You know, you start taking them in tours during that time, with showing them the building, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully get to where around 10 o'clock or so, you've done all that, and then you just have questions for like a half an hour or something.
Yeah, we had briefly
Just
talked
get what
about,
people want.
we briefly talked about teams, because, Pastor Steve said that possibly pulling in someone with him to do the breakfast, he and
Yeah,
Tara.
it's gotta be a team effort, that's
Yeah.
just all there is to it. So, I mean, we'll have to ask some people to join us on that, but we still have to line up exactly what the agenda will be for the meeting, of what we wanna get accomplished.
Okay.
I know the one thing everyone keeps saying is a tour of the building, so
Mm-hmm,
whether we do that at the beginning or we do that after the fact, so during the meet and greet out front before worship, we can play that either way. Part of it might be doing it at the end of our meeting, just because the other rooms will start being filled up with people. Kids coming in, I like to kind of see who they'd be with. It might be better to do it that way as opposed to doing it first, I don't know. But that's something we can discuss later.
mm-hmm.
What did you say the makeup day was? So the 7th is the
28th.
28th, I believe, the last Sunday, which is the week after Easter.
So number of children, that's probably, and then maybe any questions they might have, so we can, if they have any specific questions, we can kind of prepare to
Mm-hmm.
answer those.
And then we'll just have to get the logistics together, like, are we leaving the kids in there the whole time, or we're gonna have them come out and have somebody watch them while they're having the rest of the meeting, or those kind of things. But I mean, we'll figure that out once we know who's coming,
Mm.
you know? Go from there.
So if you wanna type something
I
up
will,
and then
I'll
send
do
it.
that, and send that to you.
Yeah.
So the other question we kind of have for you guys is, who else do you think should be in the meeting besides the pastor and Tara?
He kind of was flexible about that, depending on who came to the meeting.
Yeah, whoever's-
So like if it's somebody that is an age group that you guys would
Right, but we
ordinarily
know the
connect
10 that we're
to.
asking.
You do? I don't know who they
Yeah,
are.
I gave you the names.
I have the names, but that's all I have, are names.
Yeah, I mean, these guys don't know them, they can throw out
Do
who
you
else
got-
should be in there.
Mm-hmm,
Just read off the names to them
okay.
if you can.
You ready?
Mhm.
Shane Stevens. Is this Belen Gutierrez?
Bowen. Yeah.
That's not an H, that's a B for real. Belen.
Yeah.
Belen.
Yeah.
Okay. Harmony Hubert, Lesmar Morales, Samuel Cole, Pam Amstutz, Augustine, one name, Chavez, one name, Chuck Easley. Is that Rita's husband?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Carl Wright. Those are the names.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like a
Generationally, they
Yeah.
kind
a few
Spread
of
out.
us in
Were
there.
you gonna have Brittany?
Anybody that
We're gonna have
Excuse me?
Brittany and
We can add him to that
all
for
the
sure.
time would be invited to a party.
excuse me. That was me.
I mean, I don't know.
I did that.
Oh.
I invited myself to a breakfast,
Oh.
and I've been coming here since 1991.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, it just seemed like he's been here for so long. I think it's
Yeah.
sort of new anymore.
I can see it. I can see it. You know, because people sometimes they come into
Uninvited.
come to church and they sit there and they hear the message and it, you know what I mean. And after a while, maybe they decide they want to know more.
Mhm.
You know, I can see that.
I mean, I can see it, obviously, as it goes down the road, being specifically for new people, but with this being kind of something new that we're starting to launch, I think it might be good to slowly start to even invite long-term people
Yeah.
to be able just to go through it, especially since we did the rebranding last year. and,
Right.
You know, there might be
Right.
some stuff for people that they'd want to ask and talk
Right.
about,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, I think
Yeah.
it'd be pretty good.
Sweet.
Okay.
That's that.
Now, where do I send this to?
Um,
Email.
Yeah, email's good. Logan.peel@gmail.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
I will talk here today.
My dad says if we want to call him in, we can, but I feel like that's gonna be complicated.
But based on that group of
Hmm.
people, what do you guys think it should be in the meeting with the pastor?
I mean, I think at least 1, 2 representatives from these guys' groups with Lesmar and Sam and
I was kind of thinking.
Carl,
it
some of
sounded
those
like a
guys are
younger
gonna be
group.
there, so. Do what?
I thought it kind of sounded like a younger group per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know half the people on that list. I might come just to meet people, cause I knew like a small handful of people that you mentioned, the other people, I'm like, I don't even know,
Mm-hmm.
no clue who those people are.
The reason why I asked this is because like you said, okay, it's newer people. I don't want to deplete your staging, getting ready for Sunday service because you're all in the meeting taking care of the new people.
Yeah.
So I mean, based on that, I mean, that's, you kind of gotta look at the logistics that way. I would like to have you in there, John, to be honest with you.
I mean, with it just being one Sunday, you know, knowing that when it's gonna be and stuff, you know, it's just,
Yeah, but
Come
it's
and
one
take some
Sunday,
extra effort
it's
and-
also the first Sunday of the month, which always seems to be a little bit of a hiccup for everybody.
yeah, for me personally as a setup, there's nothing different about first Sunday versus anything else, so, I mean, yeah, I think that now that we know when the breakfast is gonna be,
Mhm.
you know, we can just pre-plan for it, come in on a Saturday and set up most of the stuff and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it shouldn't be a problem. I don't wanna speak for anybody else, but for
Mhm.
me, it shouldn't be a problem. I can certainly do
Right.
the other stuff, so.
I don't want to assume that Tara's gonna set up breakfast. So should we plan on having somebody do that?
Well,
Really, Tara shouldn't be setting up breakfast.
The-
If
yeah.
she's gonna be involved in a meeting, she's
Right.
gonna be distracted with
Right,
setup and extra little
We probably got
things.
the setup person sitting here, to be honest with you.
okay, well, I
Not
don't wanna, I
volunteer,
don't wanna
but
start any
she said
marital
when I do
fights.
so, you know.
But you're sitting there in one chair inviting her and she's not saying
Well, I'm not inviting her, I just kinda said.
I mean, recruiting her to do the work.
I'll hear about it later.
I was gonna say, he'll probably get punched when he gets home,
And
but.
that's normal happen.
Yeah, and make sure it's a good one when you do it, Jerry. Good.
A good punch.
All
And
right.
I'll say, this one's from
You just
Gail.
saw me up.
This one's from John.
So, yeah, I mean, our
This
goal
one's
is
from
not to have
Dustin.
Tara
I'll
be
include you
doing
too.
anything
Good
that's.
one, actually.
Right.
Okay, so that's even
Right.
includes the donuts and stuff for the service too. Just
Right,
Tara's hands can just be washed that day and she can just
Yeah.
enjoy it
yeah,
and do what she does best, which is talk,
okay.
communicate, you know, it's what she does. So my guess is Jerry will probably end up taking care of that part of it or getting people to help her do it. Maybe pull Nancy in or something like that too, or,
Yeah,
you know, depending on who
Nancy
we
should
have in the
probably be
meeting.
in there, but I don't know who runs how they run their schedule with the back, but probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have a backup that day for Tara in the nursery, cause she's usually there early setting up for the nursery, after she sets up for the coffee barn or whatever.
I believe Kat this past Sunday went, Nick's girlfriend, talked to Tara, because I think she wants to start to help in the nursery. So maybe by then she might
Even
be,
if it's just for a
she might
short
be able
while
to
until
step in.
Tara gets in there, but once breakfast is over, but for that free 20 minutes or so, might wanna cover that too, make sure the nursery's set up right.
all right.
Is there anything specific you guys think we need to talk about at this breakfast?
I just think the fundamentals and giving people the opportunity to ask questions.
Mhm.
I think that's the most important.
Well, I agree, but think how many times we've had meetings and unless someone asks a question or talks about it, nobody's talking, they're all sitting around looking at themselves.
Well, that's why I think
So,
the fundamentals are are a really good like cover for that, because if nobody has anything to ask, we have a lot to say, especially from like where we've been and where we're headed and what we think we want to accomplish and all that. And then, like John was about to say, I think my dad has a pretty good
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
on
did the
that.
last time, he had like PowerPoint, and some stuff, so he'll probably have some bullet points at least to cover, and then from there, just kind of let it be a discussion time, and then if we're gonna do a tour, then that in itself is gonna take some time, if we're actually gonna walk people around the building, so.
Yeah, because this is, I
I
mean,
thought people were talking about, is the front door unlocked, guys?
yeah. I would say this is more so like
Beautiful,
Okay, well,
yeah, that's Caleb.
We came in this one,
I think it's more so my dad's thing. Like, I think we need to be there to meet new people, kind of
Mhm.
give our input, but it is his thing. So I don't think we need to so much worry about what is going to be talked about or like what the agenda is going to be, because I think that's entirely up to him.
Yeah.
But we just need to be there to back him up and
Mhm.
to show our faces and to give input where
Mhm.
input is needed.
Mhm.
sounds good. We can just touch base with him, see what we can do to fill into.
We can always put a plan in the audience, ask questions.
Cool. That's the new people breakfast.
Do we have any updates on Sozo Kids? Does anybody know?
Don't let anybody hear from me.
Okay.
I know they're meeting, I think the 30th, I think, March 30th is their next meeting.
Okay.
Who was it that you might have an update of what you guys did back in the room, you and Landon?
It did not work.
Do what?
It did not work.
Well, what you guys are planning on doing.
Oh, we want to mount the speakers to the wall. We're actually going to ask you, because they're steel beams or metal beams
where are you putting them?
on the stage. Yeah, I think Landon already talked to you about it, but we were drilling and there's like metal beams there, so.
Well, there are steel drawings, you know.
Well, yeah, I just didn't know this one. Well, we should probably just ask
They probably
Mike.
are here, because I bought a set, but for me personally, and I could turn it in here, and I had it back in my car, but
Yeah, we were like, we should probably stop and ask Mike for his advice before we
Touch base, get them
break something.
So you guys are gonna mount the speakers, and then, still wanna look at the cables for the televisions and stuff, and take a look at what all is run. Might have to run a new HDMI cable to get some of the media stuff set up, and then wanna still look at the, do what?
Back in the jungle room? What's that cable I ran through the wall from the speakers all, or from the TV all the way back to the sound booth?
I don't know.
You know, bought two cables that put both of them up there.
Okay,
One's not
I haven't looked to
connected.
see what's there.
I
I noticed when I was there-
Called.
When I looked at the video that we played, the one TV has full widescreen format, the other one, it had a weird format on it, so something isn't, the way it's running right now, something needs to be fixed, so.
I don't know what the cables were called, that's my bad on that, but there's two of them out there, one's being used and one's not being used.
Okay. They could be HDMI, I just haven't looked to see.
And we ran another cable. And it runs, and it's running both posts and it's off of the splitter.
There's that box on top of the post.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all laying up there on top of your face the stage and the right post and it's all laying there.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I mean, they might be HDMI, I just haven't looked to see what's there. I just saw the way the TVs were formatted. We'll need to fix something, but if the cable's already there, that's great, then we won't have to do, the bulk of the work is done, so.
Anyway, the cables that he bought for it, out there, one's a spare,
Okay,
and the other one's actually being used.
okay.
Cause I ran one up the wrong way and had to redo it.
Okay, well, that sounds like then, they are HDMI, cause they're probably HDMI with a one directional
It was
Way,
okay,
so
so-
it was probably
Explained
gonna
it,
be
but there was too
so-
much latency.
So good, so that means the main run is done, so we would just have to, I'll just look at how it's all run to the
So
television
now I
and
just
see
keep them for myself.
what the formatting goes on, but, and then you guys went to IKEA, didn't you, when you were looking at some furniture for the booth?
We did very, kind of did. I was looking for furniture for myself, and then I was looking at other things. Dude, I had to move.
Ghost.
Wow. But the sad thing is, I didn't find anything. So, yeah, Lana and I are gonna go back and I want to take a look at like I think you should come too, or you, because
To look for furniture for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Prefer.
For the booth in the jungle room, like tables to hold stuff?
Yeah,
or-
tables to hold like the sound booth or the soundboard and the computer and all that stuff. Because right now it's on like cardboard and then like a
Sound
wire. Yeah.
I got the brackets cut, I just don't have them up because life got in the way, but when we moved the sound booth, jump over to the corner, they didn't wanna get rid of that sound booth. They wanna keep that
I'm
sound booth.
fine with keeping it. It's just the furniture behind it
Okay,
that's holding all the stuff.
okay, because like I said, I got the brackets and I was gonna, that carpeted shelf, take that out
Mhm.
and run a bracket all around the edges of it.
Mhm.
Put one full sheet of wood in there,
Okay.
like plywood.
That would be good.
There.
We're gonna try to redesign back behind it, once we got set what it was gonna
Yeah.
go back there.
So they could
Okay.
put like 2 monitors and our keyboard and be facing the room,
Yeah.
and you could see your monitors. And then the tower would go down below, which Sheila wants up, raised up off the floor
Okay.
for convenience, which I got brackets for that at home, I'm putting together, but. And then the equipment that's on that little table,
Mhm.
for our purposes, we were just gonna shove that little table forward, so when they're sitting at the sound booth, they wanna adjust something, they just go like this, adjust it and come back.
Yeah.
We're not rolling all the way to the corner and
Yeah.
back. But if you wanna get your furniture for that, I don't have a problem with it.
I like the bracket idea a lot actually. I was thinking furniture for the soundboard and then we can just scoot that.
Yeah, if you wanna get a piece for that, just make it look
And we were
prettier.
just
Yeah.
thinking about mounting some different
So,
shelves in there.
that would be a lot
different
better.
heights, Depending on
But
Because the
what
shelf that's
units you
there.
had back there,
the
so you get
shelf
the
is
right
gonna go
heights.
away.
Yeah, the shelf that's there
I
is
got them
bad.
back there, I should get out here one day, hopefully this week, if everything goes well on Monday. But, I got them cut, and I just gotta get a piece of wood on there.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah, that'll work.
One solid
That'd be
piece
good.
of plywood, and then I don't know if I'm gonna paint it, I'm gonna carpet it, or if I'm gonna varnish it or whatever,
Mhm.
just to cover it.
Okay. Sweet. Well then, all we need to look
There'd
for
be enough room for the 2 monitors,
and a keyboard.
and I'm gonna lower them, so they're just gonna stick up maybe this far
Okay.
above the sound booth. So who is ever sitting in the chair can see over the monitors without one,
Mhm.
like that. That's kind of my idea, if anybody's got other ideas, that's fine, but
So it sounds like we should probably, maybe after this meeting, quickly, just all of us go back there and take a look at it and
It's fun.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can even
Make
show
sure
you,
we're
I got
all
the brackets
have the
cut
same plan,
down
and
on
then we can go from there and,
I'll try everything.
if Dan is able to make it today, then certainly we grab him and have him come back and
But
look
the
at it
problem
as
with that
well,
is-
so.
Like when we moved the sound booth over from where it was to there, we asked Dan, and he said, we don't use the VCR or whatever it is. And then we got Sheila coming at us and said, where'd it go? Everything just disappeared. And it's like, well, Dan said you don't use it. Yes, we do. You shouldn't ask him. You should ask me, because he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
We left the
I mean,
DVD player, but
we can leave, we can set all that up. Going forward, we probably will start to transition away from
It'll get more of the DVDs and that.
the
kind of
current
stuff.
curriculum that we're using has a lot of VHS tapes to it and DVDs and stuff. But hopefully we'll be able to
Well,
find
if
some
we
new
didn't take it away, it's just in the
curriculum
back,
and
'cause
stuff
we
like
didn't-
that,
we
so.
didn't throw anything out. We just set it in the back. So
Cool.
it was there to bring back out, but yeah, we can go with that.
Lena and I were talking about looking at, because like so many churches have resources where it's like updated curriculum and just like kind of finding like a set website for them that they can go to and pull from easily, and then it's all digital, and then they
Is
can
that
just
what
stream
Nancy
it.
does for-
That's
I
what
think
the
so.
that's what the
Puts it on the
preschool
flash
has.
Yeah.
drive?
The
So
preschool curriculum is all, yeah, it's all
She was putting
web-based.
on
yeah.
the flash drive and
So I would love to do that for Dan and Sheila because he said they don't know where to begin with that sort of thing. I mean, they've been using the same curriculum,
Mhm.
so I think we need to step in and help them in that area.
Well, just a word of advice, if you're going to do it that way, back in the jungle room, you probably need to sit down with everybody that's working back in the jungle room, that's gonna be in the class.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Not just one party.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once we would restructure that whole booth, yeah, everybody that works back there, we have to have a training orientation to show the equipment, make sure everybody's on the same page, and, yeah.
So we fought for probably 6 months. We set it up the way they wanted to, and the next Sunday it wasn't right, they chew it all back in, and we go back in the next Sunday and nothing was working right, and
But it depends on who was running the sound booth, some would turn off down here, some would turn off over here. You gotta turn the speakers off, which maybe they didn't do, and they did do, and
that's
then
the
so
first
came
time I
in,
think
the
I
other
Well,
guy
sat
didn't
down
know
with
they were
the
off,
Well, that's part of
it's a learning curve.
what we're doing across the board, you know, as we're looking at the different teams from the Sozo, from the sanctuary team and all that stuff, and saying whoever's in charge of over the sanctuary team needs to also transition that into the classrooms in the back. So we would start to standardize, here's how you turn the system on, here's how you turn the system off, and everybody would kind of be on the same page, and everybody has the same training, you know, similar to what we've got in the sanctuary right now. Everybody pretty much knows how the system's run and who does, you know, how you turn it on, how you turn it off, that kind of thing. So, yeah, once we get everything set, I think we could pretty easily just go through and bring everybody up to speed on it and make it a consistent.
like I said, that's the first time I ever saw nail that didn't hair. Being back there dealing with that every Sunday. it seemed like.
I think it just comes down to us
See him losing hair.
accurately training
Hey, don't
people.
laugh, as you get older, it'll happen.
Nope, I'm gonna have long flowing locks for the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, brown hair over here is never gonna have.
Excuse
gray.
me, Miss
What?
Gale.
No,
You're supposed to be
clear
the
my
relational
throat.
person.
You're
Oh,
just clearing her throat.
no relationship.
That was a really inconvenient time to clear her throat. That's all I'm saying.
You know, it's a, you know,
baby.
nature call.
No, I'm not. I'm being sensitive. I'm a sensitive person, Logan.
We know.
Hey.
Well, at least now we know you're a person.
I got a
That was
question.
amazing for a while.
It's a robot.
I'm sitting here looking, is your lettering
I'm feeling
coming off
attacked.
your shirt?
What?
Is your lettering coming off your shirt?
No.
That's how he
That's how the
made it.
design is.
It's made to look like a high school football team.
It is.
Okay, like it's been washed a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, I didn't look that
Hmm.
close at it.
I think they look amazing.
Hmm.
That's why I'm wearing them. You did a darn good job.
Crossroads ain't got
I'm just
nothing on
asking.
this.
There's a reason. No, I'm not saying that.
I just
I
thought,
bust on Lynn, I bust on Logan a lot, so
He does.
I just
It's
have to,
fine.
I have to make sure I encourage him.
I didn't know.
Every once in a while.
Let him know my true heart.
It's fine. I'm
Just,
fine.
just pick him.
I'm
Logan
fine.
does
No, I
amazing.
just wanted to make sure
Thanks.
that. There's some other thing.
My true
That would
heart
be
is
very
that
sad.
we're
2
gonna
weeks
beat
later.
Crossroads football team.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
That's my true heart.
Crossroads football team.
Yeah, we're a football
Yeah.
team.
All right, what's the next thing on the agenda?
Yeah, we're gonna beat Crossroads in the championship.
We're gonna beat Crossroads.
We're taking them to the house.
EMI, we probably don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know
Easter.
to be able to give an update, so.
Good thing is, I guess the room's all ready for you, Mike.
Yes.
So that's good things.
Yep, we checked it out last night. Looks good, sounds good.
We can pull up the banner.
Is that the
We
activity
had
center?
As
cell
far
phone.
as the participation,
Yep.
does anybody take names? Who's got
Hello.
names on?
Dude.
Pastor,
I'm not sure if I can make it that
And
day,
so's
all
up branding.
day, because
It's in
family issues, I'm not sure where I'm gonna be that day. So I got a sick kid and he's pretty sick, so I might be babysitting kids, I don't know.
All right, we need to do anything with Easter?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think everything.
I'm still
I think Pastor
working
was
towards, getting
Pastor
the,
Steve. wasn't he
the
taking
interview
names
videos
for
done.
EMI?
I think so, yeah.
Those are nice.
I think, I mean, you guys are still full steam ahead for the worship night, Good
Mhm.
Friday worship night. Is there ever any conclusion conclusion as far as a tent, no tent, what we're doing for the
That's all the
sunrise
time.
service? Do I?
Tears down the
Okay. So yeah, I'm still, as far as the actual Easter service, I'm still working on getting the interview videos done. Talked to Carl so far. I still need to touch base with the other few people. But we've got 5 weeks, I think,
Yeah.
before Easter.
Yeah.
So yeah, beyond that, I mean, I think that it's mainly the worship team and then Steve's message. So I think we're pretty good. Other than a few things for like the tent, what we're doing for the sunrise service, and
Should we do a photo booth?
I think
For
so.
Easter, yeah.
I think
I was,
so.
but I was thinking, should we do a professional one since Easter's kind of like a bigger deal?
I mean, don't we kind of already
Ours is
have
pretty
Well,
like
not
80% there?
not the you know what I'm talking about, not the thing Evan had, cause like I really like that, but the quality isn't.
Wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Like, you're basically saying like we did before, like with the clicker and a camera.
Yeah, which is a hassle,
It's
but I think
Easter.
the image quality turns
Yeah.
out better.
But
Unless we
tastier.
can-
I like that
Unless we
word.
can ask Evan if there's a way that he could
Put a
do
Canon
something different, yeah,
lens.
and be able to use an actual, we'll be able to
Like,
somehow be able to make something that works with that remote to be able to
That'd be cool.
still do it touchscreen somehow. The problem with that clicker is that there was still, the intent was for it to be self-run, but
It was not self-run.
yeah,
You
there was
still
still
had
people
to-
were having issues
yeah.
and, well, this doesn't work out. And
Which
so
I-
still had to ask Mike later and actually click the picture.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll ever be like that because even with the touchscreen, there were still people who had questions.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if we'll ever.
I mean, we could just bite the bullet and just do it the way the one lady did, where she literally sat there
Yeah,
and
get someone
clicked
to
the
actually run it.
click the picture. and
That's
have
kind of what
somebody
I was
actually run
thinking,
it.
but that's money that
We'd have to.
Or we
Well,
wouldn't
no,
have
I'm
to hire
saying-
someone. We
yeah,
just
I'm
get
saying
someone
one
here
of
to do
us.
it. Yeah. With
We
our
put the
equipment.
actual camera there, and one of us just run it. We could put a big monitor up there to be able to try to
Okay.
do kind of what she
Amen.
did.
Malaya is your intern.
Malaya, her name's
Malia.
Malia.
Well, you know, she's
That's
the
how much
intern.
you care about
Actually,
people.
that's not a bad idea.
Well,
She's
the
gonna ask
intern,
her if
man.
she'd be
She's
willing to
the
run
That's
it.
so mean though. Like, hey, can you stand here for 45 minutes?
She's got to pay her dues.
It's not mean. She's serving
Yeah,
a
it's
nice.
sounds helping with
it's,
the-
yeah,
I don't
it's
want
an
to
important place to serve.
Yeah, I mean, it's part
You
of.
get to meet everyone.
It's
jump
part
party.
of doing the-
Exactly.
This
It's
thing.
part to make everyone's day.
Maybe
By
I'll
putting
see
on
what
funny hats and stuff.
Malaya thinks. We'll
Hmm?
see. I'll ask Malaya what she thinks.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll let her know you said her name like that.
I've done it before. She's corrected me, so
You
the
didn't learn?
expectation's
Jeez.
already been set. So it's
My
good.
mom just texted me and said Malia. They're watching the live stream.
Everybody say hi.
See, dude?
Hi.
See, dude? You're an idiot.
Dude, shut up.
Malia. She didn't say anything else. That's what she said.
That's funny.
Yeah, so these are the sanctuary banners we're looking to get. I mean, we'll probably easily be able to get them before Easter, but my goal is to maybe have them ordered by this week or next
Those
week.
are really nice.
We're doing 4 and 4, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So the Sozo one is gonna be on both back walls on either side of the sound booth, and then but like up higher. You know the
Mhm.
lightning or the what am I saying? The light bulbs in the ceiling where the old flags used to be, where it was
Mhm.
like the country flags
Mhm.
across. We're
Yeah.
gonna do the Sozo flags there,
Oh.
and then around, we're gonna do open embrace link. So as like you're walking in and out, you can see it, and you kind of get more about the definition of Sozo,
Yeah.
and then you kind of get like the open embrace link, and then I think that'll give people the opportunity to ask even more questions
Yeah,
if they
that's good.
constantly see this sort of lingo. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Are we hanging those under where the lights
Mm-hmm.
are?
Yeah,
Mhm.
where the old country flags used to be,
Okay.
which I forgot about those, dude.
Because if there's something we can, I'm wondering, is there a way that we can get some sort of like a test color to be able to
Yeah.
put underneath the light before we have them printed. My only thing, the design is awesome. My
It's
only
just-
concern was
it's
how
gonna
dark it
look
is,
dark,
and
yeah.
when you know how we have the light down
Mhm.
in the room. If those are hanging,
Yeah.
they might be hard to, other than the white lettering. But
Well, they should have a light, they should all have a light right
That's
above
what-
them shining
What
on
that,
it.
well, that's what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
If there's something that if we can get something that's color and kind of hang it up there with those lights to see just how bright those lights do
Mhm.
actually shine
Mhm.
with it, just to see if that darker background is gonna work, or because you'd hate to put the money in and then
And
get
then
them in
you
there
can't
and then
see
you're
it,
like, oh
yeah.
crap, those are like really dark.
That's a good point. I do think like you said, I think the lights should help a lot more because those will always stay on.
Well, what's
but
wrong
it's
if
a-
it's dark?
Well, they
You
don't
want
read
to
it
be able to
black.
see them.
Well, I mean, you'd be able to read the words, and that's the whole point of them.
Yeah, but I mean, and this is just my opinion, but I would think that if we're putting banners up, we'd want the banners to kind of pop a little bit
Mhm.
and not just blend into the wall. So
Well,
that's what I'm thinking
I think
with
they'll
the,
definitely pop. I mean, the wall's white, so it's not like you get away from seeing them.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm
Maybe
just
it's just
suggesting, can we get a test thing just
Yeah.
to see what it's actually gonna look like before we
Oh,
spend the money
we
to
can
print
take
it, so.
The green banner we have out front and just hang that one. Or
Yeah,
not hang
that's
it,
true.
but
That'd be
get a
about the
ladder.
same color.
Yeah, and we need to replace that light bulb anyway, so we can do that at the same time. And then I
So
mean,
when will those lights be on?
so they're the outer lights, so they're always on.
They are?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So those will,
Typically.
they usually are always on, unless somebody, which nobody should, but they're usually always on.
I do
The
think
only time they're not on is at
Last-
the beginning
I
of
feel like
service.
it was last Sunday. There was a Sunday recently.
Yeah, last
that
Sunday
they were
someone
turned
turned
off
them
for
off, I
some
don't know.
reason.
Oh, that was
But-
me.
But yeah, they're typically.
Yeah, well, I
ones
usually
on
keep them on
the
walls,
Those are
so-
usually always on. the whole
It just
time,
felt
yeah.
too light there, for worship. It's like this.
You know, it happens sometimes.
Did those outer lights, do they have the directional cones like the ones in the lobby do?
I don't think so.
I could help.
Yeah, so we can.
That might be something too, if there's, they make like these little like extension pieces where you can, you know, basically put a bulb in there and then kind of angle it.
Okay.
We might be able to get something like that from Amazon, thread it up into the
Then
fixture,
just angle it.
and then be able to put the bulb down and actually angle it right at the banner,
Okay.
just to light it up better too. You just have like
Yeah.
a little piece kind of hanging down a little bit, but
We also use those for room lighting to at least an extent, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to take away from that. But yeah, we'll put something up there and test them. I think
Just
it'll,
got a banner you
I don't
can-
think it'll be more than bright enough.
What was I gonna say?
I think they look good though.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
It'd
excited.
be nice to be able to have some new stuff hanging up there and
I agree. Mike, my mom said, do we have an update on the parking lot? Any
Haven't
update?
heard from the bond yet.
Okay,
Calling Dan,
okay.
we were just talking about that on the way out, if we don't hear something soon, we just have to make a decision, I guess.
Okay.
We can only wait for so long.
Right. Here's what I was thinking for, so those are kids. For like the kids check-in,
that'd be pretty sweet.
just like so that's like the self-check-in.
So you'll mount those against the wall out here.
Maybe not that many.
Do you have that? Can you put that picture on Dropbox real quick? And I'll-
Yeah. For sure.
Make sure you get your hat on first.
Shut up.
Helps you put stuff on Dropbox.
Yeah, it helps me focus. Helps me focus.
Gotta warm your brain up for it.
Right. See, he gets it. He gets it because he knows what it feels
Doesn't
like.
work as well when it's cold.
He knows.
Gotta put that safety hat on so that you're nice and safe and you function.
He knows.
Better
It's in
keep a
us
hard
as
hat
our
on.
kids.
So is it it's in open arms?
Do you have some aluminum foil up there too to make the conduction
Yeah,
better?
there's
You gotta let
aluminum
the
band.
antennas do what they say.
Come on,
Put
dude.
that little
Dude, you
aluminum
got stuff
pan
all
on
over the
there,
place. It's hard to
pan
know
with
what you're
the
doing.
pan.
No, whatever, dude.
He's got to get every boost he can.
Thanks, Gail, I used to like you.
Yeah, like,
Do you find it?
I found it.
I keep pushing the envelope.
Oh,
So this
those
is-
are
This is
nice.
what we're thinking for like, so we want to turn this hallway past the women's bathroom into like the Sozo kids check-in, and then as soon as the check-in starts, that's when like the whole environment of these back hallways changes to like kids area and kids ministry. So this is the kind of thing I'm thinking for like, obviously you don't need to every Sunday like be checked in by someone, which if you want to you can.
Mhm.
So I think a self check-in station across from like a window where people can come up and ask questions, but also have the option if they're running late, they can just run in, sign their kid in through like one of these kiosks, and then like we could have like a cool like Sozo Kids mural on the wall behind it. Then they take their kids to class, but that's kind of what I'm
So
thinking.
these would be on that wall,
I'm thinking
and the
so.
window is on that wall.
Right. Yeah, so this would be on the wall of the motor room, and then the window, we want to have like a check-in window where someone's stationed there. So that way, first-time guests, if they have questions and they need a tour,
Mhm.
they can come up to the window and kind of get all that information.
And
And
look
we're,
how you can push them flat against the wall where they're
Right.
not being used, so they're not hanging out there and a kid
Right.
walk by and smack
This-
one off the wall.
it's from Amazon. Amazon makes those.
Is that just a regular iPad or something you
Mm-hmm.
slide into it?
Yeah.
So that's just a frame and.
And then an iPad, which my dad and I found some refurbished iPads for pretty cheap. If we-
So high off the floor to those,
Those are pretty decent. Actually,
because I can
Go
just
back to
see
the
somebody
outlet.
swinging
It's
on
not
that.
super-
Hey, look at this girl right here.
You see them pulling them down,
Can't
hanging
see.
on, slapping
yeah,
them
kids
down.
wouldn't. No, kids wouldn't be able to reach them. I don't think.
Oh,
What
yeah.
do you think
It
they
You
would?
think?
Yeah, it
Uh,
would.
Well,
Well,
I'm not.
But I
Worried.
don't think.
I'm not worried about that.
If
Like,
there's 7 or 8.
Yeah,
Ingenuity.
won't there be someone right there?
yeah,
with
they'll
the
have a
iPad?
parent right with them. It's not like they're checking themselves in. It's-
Seriously?
We don't have parents with them now.
They
Seriously?
don't.
Well, that's on the discipline. that's on their teachers, man. That is nothing. That's on their teachers and their
Obviously
parents.
so, I'm telling you.
And some of them, you can't
you
modify
could-
them in
you could.
class.
Well,
They have
after,
'em- they
after
have 'em,
checking,
like-
you can push them up.
Well, they have them done like this, you know, kind of with the bracket lower than the monitor, where you would pull the monitor up at you.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if you put the bracket the other way, to where when you're done, you pushed it more
Push
up,
it up, yeah.
rather than when you just grab it, pull it down. You push it up so it is up out of the way of a kid. So when you're
Yeah.
walking, it's like maybe just above an adult's head level when you push them against the wall, and
Yeah.
you can pull them down. It would take away from the ability to put a mural up there, possibly
Yeah.
do some of that, but at least they'd be out of the way.
I'm not that worried about the kids, to be honest. I feel like if anything, the amount like that is almost like meant.
You know, there is, it seems like every class, there is at least one child that's gonna push the envelope.
Yeah,
It happens every time.
I say let them.
Okay, here we go.
He'll do some
New
monkey
children's
bars.
pastor.
He'll just no way, no way.
Here's my concern, having them out next to the motor
tackles.
room.
Mhm.
Handcuffs.
In the motor room, they'll get all excited, and the first thing they're gonna do is come out of that room, and they're gonna grab the first thing they see.
That's what happens.
I think like
I'm not saying there's a better place to put it.
Right,
I'm
I
just,
think we might be thinking a little too deep into it.
Maybe.
Like I understand, I completely get it. I mean,
Yeah.
I was there once, and I was probably
I'm just
the
wondering
kid
if
who
they-
did that.
I'm just wondering if they need to be a little bit higher, where maybe you pull it down as opposed to
Yeah,
push it up.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's something
Get
we
it up a
get.
little bit higher, where it's a little bit more difficult for them to jump up and grab it.
yeah.
I don't, it's just an
Yeah.
idea.
You know, it's a whole, the thing about it is, if it wasn't such a risk, it wouldn't be worth the discussion. But if somebody can hurt themselves,
Mhm.
it's worth the discussion.
Okay. That's fair. I think that's something we can talk about
Yeah.
as we begin to do that sort of thing.
So, do you? I guess we would have to just remove the iPads every other week or something to charge them, or is there a way that
Yeah,
if there's a plug out there that you can just plug them in to charge them through the week?
I didn't look if I don't know if there's a plug out there, but I also didn't look if you're able to.
plugs on that side of the hallway, if I recall.
Because that'd be something we'll want to take a look at too.
Down,
Okay.
down by.
Is how easy these things would be to.
To get out.
put the
Okay,
stuff in and
there's
out, 'cause
one
that's,
down
somebody's
on
gonna have to do that.
Yeah, there's one
Right,
right
I
there,
can
there's
go
one,
to
there's
church,
there's
yeah.
one
I
underneath
can
the
go
water
back and look
fountain.
at that place. It's right down the street.
There's
They-
another,
I have
there's
to go
one
back to
under
that,
Terrace
actually.
window by the water fountain, and then right outside the door here is plugged.
There's not a lot of
So
plugs.
there's
out
something to
there.
work with. I'm also supposed to tell you Tiffany and Steven are willing to help with the children's ministry.
Good deal.
Nice,
Sweet.
awesome.
And I know Kat. I think we talked about that.
Yeah,
last
for the
week.
nursery.
Kat spoke to my dad, and Jess also has shown interest in helping in the nursery when she's done with coffee.
If we're able to,
Justin?
Yeah,
if we're able to kind of going back to the charging thing, if you are able to plug these in, that might be another thing that maybe be worth running a few additional outlets right where those are, kind of level with the brackets maybe,
Mm-hmm.
to where you can just run a cord, plug it in, and run the cord right to the back and just to
Yeah.
charge them. And then when, on Sunday, just pull the chargers away so nobody takes
Might be
them.
even
but-
good when you push it up against the wall. That's where it meets with the outlet.
With some sort of charger, yeah.
That'd be cool. But that's something obviously once we start to do that one.
I mean, I think they,
Yeah, I think
they look awesome.
when I
It's
saw
really
that,
cool.
It's really clean.
like
and
it.
people walked past the desk. So there was like a check-in desk,
Mhm.
and then there was like those, and people would just walk past the desk and just directly go to those because it's just like a convenience thing. And there was a line at the desk, so it's like this just frees up.
It's a self-checkout lane.
It just makes sense. And so many churches are doing this sort of thing. Like obviously you have that initial first time guest, but if you've been going for 2 years and you know the routine, and or even if you're running late, you can just run in, send your kid in, get a name tag, and take your kid to class, and then head into service.
Would they be able to take a picture of their kid at the time?
I don't know if we would do that. Typically, what the systems use are name tags. I don't think they do pictures. I don't know why they would, but I think typically the systems that they use just print out tags.
Well, the reason why I ask that is because like a lot of times, if some sort of emergency would happen here or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
you may not have a name tag on you when you're found, but if you had a picture, you can match up who was who,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I asked that. Or if we have when they start coming in regular or something, we have a database just with their picture that gets updated every so often, just so we have something fairly recent to
Yeah.
know who's who. I mean,
That's another.
not that we're gonna
Yeah.
have a tragedy, I'm not saying that, but.
I think that's another detail that's like when we're actually beginning to like do this sort of thing. That's something we look at, but
That's why I throw it on the table so you can look at it. 'Cause it's just, I'm getting in the habit now, and probably it's from all the safety crap with work and everything, that anytime Barry's with me, first thing I do is put his picture, so I have a recent outfit that he's wearing, what it looks like.
that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, if I lose him in the store or something, or he wanders outside and I can't find him, say, this is what he,
Right.
They came in looking like.
so he has an idea what he is, not that he's gonna run anyway, he's gonna
Right.
run, and the first person, say,
Right.
Might be the wrong first person.
Oh, Barry.
Dude's gonna be a long distance runner when he grows
What a
up.
guy.
He might be.
Yeah, John, that space is sweet.
Does the software that the iPads would have for the check-in, is that tied into the other software, or we still need to like spec out what check-in software we
So
use and all that
Church
kind of
Community
stuff?
Builder recommends 3 or 4 different softwares and equipment.
Okay.
So you get an iPad or a tablet, and then they recommend a printer, which does like printing out name tags and
Oh,
check-in
nice.
times and all that stuff. Then they recommend softwares that integrate really well with CCB. So it's all
Sweet.
there. We
That's
just
awesome.
have to do it. Yeah, but it's
Cool.
exciting.
Yeah, so you could have the printer in the other room.
Right.
They could check in, hit print, it would wirelessly send a signal,
To the
and then the person in the check-in thing would just have it right there and hand it to them from the window.
Right.
That'd be pretty cool.
I was even thinking you could do like a shelf as well and just have the printers right below the iPads if you wanted to do that.
The other thing you might wanna think about when you put this up there, we may need to re-brace behind the wall,
Mm-hmm.
so it's up there good and solid.
Yeah.
And to do that, probably the best way to do that would be to break in through the motor room.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's metal studs right there, isn't it, John?
Sure.
You guys had that open up when you was
Yeah,
working on
those two
it.
by
In the motor room, the wall that we took down was metal studs, so I'm assuming this wall is metal studs too.
Okay.
Cause the wall, when we took the wall dividing those two rooms out and expanded it in, that wall all had metal studs on it.
Well, put the drywall, it's 2x6s.
Yeah, some of ours, when we did the wall, drywall was all wood,
2x6s,
but I do know about
2x4s.
two white eggs out the
And that'd be weird if that, for that dividing wall to have metal studs, but yet this external wall have wood. I would bet that this wall right here has metal studs in it, down this way.
What I'm saying is, if we do this, if you need to do something else to it, my guess is we'll tear up the wall inside the mudroom and brace everything. Cause it'll be easier to get in, so we don't tear up the outside where you're doing all your stuff, so it can be a finished product when you're done. Then that brings up two things. One, if you wanna redo something in the mudroom, paint or do something else in there, desk wise, module, it'd be a good time to think about that while the wall will be open, getting all this bracing in there, doing your electrical work,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, so kind of throw that in the back of your minds when you start planning this out.
Okay.
Because it'd be easier to do it all at one time as opposed to do it then tear it
Going
apart
back.
again.
Yeah.
How many do we think we would need on that wall?
I think at most 4 or 5 or 4.
Most of it's 30.
I guess we can take a look at that. I guess when you're thinking long-term,
Right.
you'd wanna be able to have the ability to
Have more.
add more. You might,
You might get
Do
by
the-
with just start
you might
with
do the
2,
wall.
but have four hookups.
right, yeah,
Yeah,
so I was
that's
gonna
what
say, you
I'm
might embrace the wall in order to be able to accommodate 4, but initially only put 2 up there just to test it and see how it goes, and then
Yeah.
as we grow into it, we've got the ability to add additional ones, just, we wouldn't, cause I think if we put 4 out there now, 1 would be used and the other 3 would probably just sit,
Right.
nobody would ever touch it,
Right.
but, so yeah, I think that'd be good, if we're gonna rip that wall out anyways, you brace it for the 4 stations, but only
Well, I
actually
think you wanna have a
two
break
for
just
now.
because of the things we're saying, kids hang on, you don't wanna just put a
Mhm.
hole in the drywall that would just rip right out.
Right.
Make it sturdy enough so Caleb can hang on like he used to.
I think if you were gonna worry about anybody, it would be Caleb at this point. I think the kids coming out of the motorroom would be fine, it'd be Caleb that would be yelling at every Sunday, Caleb,
I am
get off of the check-in stations.
literally sitting here saying not a word, minding my
And
own
that's what's
business,
making you a target.
minding my own business.
Obviously, you haven't seen the 2 little girls that drive outside the motor room all over the church.
It's all wood this way.
Why is that, what? That makes no
And I
sense.
think
It was
we
all
done
wood
by
going this
now.
way, that's why I didn't know if you knew about that wall.
That makes-
Because we didn't go quite that far down, so.
That makes no sense why that would be wood, but yet the wall on the inside is metal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that pictures, I thought I saw.
Unless that wall on the inside was some sort of low bearing.
And it wasn't even 2x4,
Write
that
that
was
down.
2x6.
That might be bad.
Oh, great, way to go, John.
But that goes down by the motor room. Yeah, I think that's what the motor room is into.
Shut the light straight down.
Caleb, you parked your car in the
Make
wrong
sure I
spot.
didn't shut the light stream down.
Sun's right there. Oh, plug the light, hey.
I was about to say, I'm gonna have to go out and move my car.
Yeah, thanks Caleb.
You're welcome.
I did my job now. I have to light them up.
Are we gonna want those in the
So this
sanctuary
is-
too?
What's that?
Those blinds, we don't want them in the sanctuary. Like, it was right behind us.
I am so tempted.
Seriously,
What? What?
There's like 4 conversations going on.
You're gonna talk to yourself.
Two different conversations.
Excuse me.
I could look at the stage.
It's a pretty
and
country and I could do whatever I want.
That one light was like there, and when somebody else came in the sanctuary, they were coming in more like that,
What light are you talking about?
on stage.
There's tons of lights on stage, which
It's the
particular
one
light are you talking
behind Landon, on the floor. And they were coming in going like that. That's a little out of line.
about? Okay, we can take a look at it.
I don't know if it got bumped,
No, I think you tried to highlight behind the singers up there, things like, because I showed it to Caleb, he was supposed to get with you on it. I think it was just a one-time experiment, I think that's all it was.
Oh, that's what it was, okay.
Yeah, I think it was just a one-time experiment to try to see how it works.
It was like super bright.
So this is the other thing that I was wanting to talk about. Last Saturday, there was discussion around coming up with a gifting test that you take it would tell you what your spiritual gift is, and then it would tell you what volunteer positions in the church would align with that particular spiritual gift. So I created this spreadsheet as a start, and basically what I did was I listed the gifts across the top and then the different positions along the column here, and then basically looked and tried to rank my opinion on what the spiritual gifts would be relative to the position. So if you take this one here, media team director, I ranked them from 7 down to 1, and the 7 being the highest and then 1 being the least. So in media team director, I've got leadership as 7, teaching as 6, exhorter as 5, mercy 4, service 3, prophecy 2, and giving 1. And that was just my opinion on how I think that the giftings would align with that particular position. I feel like that position is one where you're directing a lot of people, so you're going to need to have some leadership gifting, and you're going to need to be an exhorter because you are going to be working with a bunch of people, and you can't be some hard-nosed kind of a person. Mercy, working as people are trying to learn and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically how I put them in. And so I went in and I basically did the same thing for all the positions that we had listed for the open team, other than some of these like the pro presenter, the sound tech, some of these that are just straight serving positions. We still need to add those. And then once I put those in, then I added the columns up to get a total number for each gift. And then I aligned the gifts based from highest ranking to lowest ranking. So the intent was, as I was putting this together, was that we could have the test, it would tell you what your gift is, and then based on your gift, it could immediately tell you if you would be someone who would work best in the open arms, or if you'd be somebody who would work best in the embraced arms, or the linked arms once we get that done. And then once it tells you what general team you would align with, it would tell you what the top positions within that team that would align the closest to your particular spiritual gifts. And so you can see, based on what I had put together, I came out that service, mercy, and exhorter are the top 3 gifts for the open arm team. I'm assuming that when we get down into the embraced arms and we start to list out all the jobs and we do the same exercise, I wouldn't be surprised if we see like prophecy, teaching, leading, some of those would probably be the top gifts down here, and then whatever linked arms would be, we can establish that. So 2 things that I wanted to mention with this. One is what I just said, that it would be able to tell us which team you would align with. But as I was doing this, I acknowledged that based on my personal gifts, I would probably have a tendency to sway the rankings one way or the other based on my own personal bias, of what I think is important. So I think what would be good is if we as a team could kind of go through these and have discussions on each of these positions, look at what I rank them at and see, does everyone agree? Do we feel like maybe we should shift things around a little bit? And then also, do we have all the positions listed? The up front team, or no, the open arm, the front door team. I just put that one in, but we've got this other list here, so we probably want to add these under that particular listing. and then go through the whole exercise, but then just making sure that we've got a full list of the positions that we can rank. And then for the embraced arms, you guys, if you could give whatever the list of the positions would be for embraced, and then as we get into the linked, we can start to do the same thing. Once we kind of have this stuff populated with all the data, then Dustin and Evan or some of the other guys that kind of know coding should be able to go in. Logan can put his hat on, and then he can help these guys
Yeah, I can
with the
code.
coding.
Heck yeah.
These guys should be able to go in and kind of develop an actual app that we could use. And we could have it on the check-in stations. We could have a paper version and an app version, depending on what somebody would feel comfortable with. The actual gifting test portion, some of that logic will pull some of that from the 24 to double test, because they've already got one set up that tells you what your gifting is. And Dustin was doing some reverse engineering sort of on that test to kind of try to get an understanding of what the logic is behind the programming on it. But we're going to use that kind of as our basis to do the gifting piece, and then based on this data that we put in the spreadsheet, we would use that to do the second part of the test for the program to be able to tell you kind of what would align. And then once the program would tell a particular person, it could say, hey, your gifting is service and exhorter, so you would be a great person on the Open Arms team, and out of that you'd be great at light console tech, a spotlight operator, and a photographer, or communion. And then the person at that point would say, okay, out of all those, well, there's no way I want to do spotlight, so I'm not even going to think about that, but I would love to do this one, and then that would give them direction to, hey, I want to volunteer for this particular team. So could be a really powerful tool. So I guess suggestions from everyone. Do we want to just basically start to take some time and literally go down the list one by one, or we could try to knock through 3 or 4 of these right now, or if we want to, if somebody has a suggestion of a good way to populate this information a different way, what do you guys think?
I don't see a problem with
Just go through the list now and start looking at it?
that.
Okay, so let's see. So we'll just go through, we'll just start at the top. So Pro Presenter, basically that's the person who is literally just sitting there, Pro Presenter, and running the slides and whatever comes up on the screen. For that position, I started as a 7 for service, because that's mainly what you're doing. It's a behind the scenes thing. You're literally just serving the church. The other gifting, I don't really know that they play a huge part in it. So we can just assign them.
So what do you do if that person is has a teaching gift and starts looking at what they're pushing the button on and has an opinion in terms of how to better focus it or run it as a teacher?
At that point, we would certainly take suggestions. So yeah, that wouldn't be a problem at all. So are you suggesting that you think that the teaching gift would maybe be a 6 for that?
No, not necessarily. I just something that just kind of popped in my mind that somebody with a teaching gift is probably somebody that does a lot of teaching or does some teaching, would have an opinion about it, or
yeah. I would think though, if they've got a really high teaching gift, if that's one of their highest ones, this is probably not going to show up on their report to say this gift would align with you. It's probably going to be one of the gifts down here.
Okay.
They'll say,
Gotcha.
hey, you'd probably be better as a small group leader versus a Pro Presenter
That's
operator.
good.
Now, if they had like a serving teaching, if serving was their 7 and 6 was their teaching was their 6, maybe it would.
Yeah.
If they were like serving, teaching, mercy, then the system might say, hey, you might be good at pro presenter because of the service mercy kind of gifts and because of your teaching, maybe you would have some suggestions on how to better align the pro presenter stuff, in which case, yeah, certainly we would take input. So any thoughts on these?
For pro presenter, I don't know that it requires anything else
That's kind of what I was.
besides service, because that's all, like, you're just, like, unfortunate. I mean, you want to give it more purpose, but I mean, I feel like that's trying too hard. It's kind of like, well, you're kind of just sitting here and timing things or just clicking through things. There's not much there. I mean, a leadership standpoint would be like your job, because you'd be leading whoever's doing that.
Yeah.
So
I think I am going to put 6 and then 5 on these, just because from a teaching standpoint, maybe it would be a benefit if somebody, as they're running pro presenter, and as your dad is, you know, preaching and stuff, and they see the slides, you know, being able to decipher, okay, he's talking about this, that slide right there aligns really well with what he's talking about. I'm going to put this slide up now, so that might, that might work. Let's see, I'm just going to do 4, 3, 2, 1, just because those are kind of random. I don't really know that there's a big push one way or the other on those. And I would think camera operator would
be the same.
potentially be the same. And then, so for those positions are almost identical to these positions. It's literally just a serving position. I don't know that there's a lot of.
What do you think, Dustin? Do you think Spotlight?
Yeah, no, I'd say pretty much the same stuff.
Okay. So MediaTek director, I put 7 in leading, because that's literally what you're doing. You're leading a team. 6 in teaching, because you're going to need to be. You're going to basically be teaching the other group how to do the certain things. Exhorter as a 5, you're going to be lifting, you know, your team up. 4 for mercy, 3 for service, 2 for prophecy, and 1 for giving. That's how I ranked media team director. Anybody have any different thoughts on that one? The position, basically what the position is that person would be running the switcher upstairs, but also communicating to the camera operators, hey, yellow camera, you need to zoom in a little bit. Green camera, you need to go over and get a shot of the crowd over there, or, you know, kind of directing what's going on, and then also talking to the pro presenter guy or girl, hey, put that slide up, hey, put that lower third up, I'm going to switch this over here, you know, so that person is kind of directing the team on the other programs and trying to bring it all together. So there is going to be a lot of leadership, direction, kind of stuff that particular person's going to be doing.
Yeah. That seems pretty good.
And then the sound team director, same exact thing. So I aligned those to the same as the other one, because those 2 positions are virtually the same general thing. Same thing with the lighting team director. It's just a matter of what equipment the people are running, but the position is the same concept for all 3 of those.
Yep.
Photographer, Logan. I had service,
Yeah.
exhorter,
Service.
leading, mercy, teaching, prophecy, giving.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah. What's 6 exhorter? Okay. Yeah, that's
I
good.
think that's good.
Yeah.
Photo editing, I put that in there. That wasn't on the list. I don't know. I know you do editing. I don't know if you would at some point start to, you know, have people start to help you with editing and stuff. But again, that's another one, kind of like spotlight operator and lighting tech and all that stuff. That's like, not sure which way that one would fall, but
Okay.
so we can
mess with that.
we can take a look at that one later.
Okay.
Greeter, I've got exhorter, mercy, service, leading, prophecy, teaching, giving. That one I am looking for input from, certainly from other people, or what you think on that one.
Boy, I wish Glenn was here.
Actually, this is the one that, let's see, it'd be more, so front door greeter, and then there'd be these guys right here.
What number of service up there? Is it
5.
5?
For greeter?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.
Front door team.
So, thoughts?
I would.
The logistics administrator, is that the same thing as your light team leader that you were using before, the ones who run the whole show? Is that your title for that?
I think so.
The logistics administrator, that's the job that I used to have. They walk around and make sure everything is running smooth. As far as the open arms teams go, they're there for support. They just make sure all the rooms are prepared and ready as well.
So wouldn't that be pretty much the same thing you have for the leaders on all the
Are
other
these up
rooms?
here? Probably,
I
yeah.
was wondering if we got some kind of a pattern going on here.
Hmm.
Think that one?
Yeah, definitely leading. Is this,
I would think though for this one, there'd be less teaching and more exhorting,
I was about to say the same thing.
because you're not really teaching people how to do their job. You're more
Yeah, I would
looking to
more
make
of a
sure,
service.
and
yeah,
probably
I would
also
say more
service.
service than teaching.
Yeah,
5,
definitely.
3.
Yeah, put services. The
So
highest
exhorter,
ones
or
there.
leading 7, exhorter 6, service 5, mercy 4,
Well,
teaching
you-
3, prophecy 2, giving 1.
Let me push back a little bit on the teaching part of this. If you've got new people, you gotta teach them what's expected, don't you?
Well, that particular position though, isn't so much, that position is dealing with our team internally more than they're dealing with the new people. So the new people, the front door greeter, the sanctuary greeter, all of those, the info desk, those people are dealing more with first time visitors and new people coming to the church. The logistics admin is kind of managing the other team within that front door team. So going to the info desk people and saying, hey, you guys got everything you need? Anything that you need, you need me to go, whatever, going to maybe the classrooms, hey, you guys got everything you need? Is there anything you need me to get for you?
And that person would also go into the sanctuary and be like, we're good with that,
And
like it's
person,
starting
and
at
that
10.
person does all the scheduling and all that kind of stuff, right?
Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
not necessarily. It probably would kind of end up being more that way.
We would probably want it to be that way.
Yeah,
But we don't think it's that way right now.
yeah.
Why wouldn't you have that person with a 7 under service?
Yeah,
That's a good point.
might be, yeah, actually.
And the other thing I'm thinking too is, and this might be kind of way off the beam, but sometimes I think that if you've got more than one person working together, you may have complementary roles, and somebody may not necessarily be a 7 under the service, but somebody else might be that's working with that person. Am I making sense?
Well, that's why I'm asking what this role is, because in my viewpoint, the leading would be the top dog, because they're overlooking everything, they're troubleshooting, they're getting everything in place. Then you'd have a lot of teaching in that too, to make sure things are running smoothly, and then being able to do the correction with them if it's not. I mean, a lot of that is the exhorter also, but I don't know, that's just kind of the way I'm looking at it here.
From my experience as a logistics administrator, the top gift you have to be able to work with is service, and then exhorter after that. And then there is some leadership, because people do look to you to get things done, and then look to you for some direction as well. But at least that was my experience with it.
I mean, nothing's gonna be set in stone today, I mean, it'll change as we do it all, but from what you guys are describing, I don't see where that sounds a whole lot different than what you're doing up on the sound thing.
Yeah. My initial thought with that was the difference would be what I'm doing up on the sound, or up on the as the media team director. I am actually teaching the camera operators how to run the camera, and actually teaching the Pro Presenter person how to run Pro Presenter on top of directing them. So there is a big teaching and leading piece to that. Whereas initially, I wasn't thinking that logistics person was responsible to necessarily teach the front door greeters how to be a front door greeter, and the sanctuary greeters how to be sanctuary greeters.
No.
They were simply there to make sure that those other people had everything they needed to do their job, and not teaching them how to do their job.
My question is,
Yeah.
But that
who
might
does that
be-
then?
For every position, like for front door greeters, there'd be a head person there who would teach new people. So, and for logistics administrators, there'd be a head person over that who could have people under them to fill that role for them, but they'd be the head person who knows it best and everything like that.
So would we have this then? Would we have,
Your head's gonna explode, dude.
No.
Lord.
Gotta get the hat off so I can get out now.
I'm outside today. So will we have that position then, you think?
I would say kinda, but also at the same time, with any of the lead positions we're putting on here, I don't know if they're necessarily positions we need to add, because to get to that position, you have to have experience in what you're doing anyways. Where what we're doing here, I think, is more of a getting a new person plugged in somewhere. Does that make sense? So you wouldn't take somebody new and be like, you wanna help us serve? Here, you can be the
Logistics
yeah,
administrator.
like the lead
This is-
team, like
this is
lead
someone
team
who's
director
been
for
here.
lighting, because your gifts line up with it well. It's like, you could come and like, you'd be good on the lighting console, you know? So this is like an introductory thing where you're just getting people plugged in, and then once they're plugged in, to move up to a higher position of like responsibility over a certain aspect
Yeah.
of something would be,
I definitely agree with that. I think it's still worth putting the data into this
Okay.
form.
Yeah.
But maybe when we do the actual test,
Yeah,
we don't
we don't
add
include
those
those.
particular positions, but I
Yeah.
think it's still important to know
Okay.
what we think the
Yeah, then what I would do is I would put a gap between the bottom there, like you did in some of the other ones, and then add director for all of those positions.
front. Okay.
Because we're kind of going back backwards, we've already got people in the roles, and now we're trying to fill in underneath them. Where ideally, people that come in, more than just fill in the holes as they come through. So we kind of already know what we're looking at. Right now, we don't really know what we're looking at for each one of these positions. So we're trying to figure out, was like Reed, the first person came to mind was Glenn. You know, what's Glenn like, what's his strengths in here, that's kind of the person you want up front.
Yeah, I mean, well, I wouldn't think of this as thinking of any specific person or role. I would just think of what the role requires from a person. Like a completely blank slate of a person, what would we want the best person for the job, what would their personality look like? And then we fill it in that way.
Yeah. Because
But-
this is the initial
But
test.
if you look at it that way, if I'm on the front door team, I want someone who's either strong in Mercy or someone who's strong in Exhorter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's the way we should be filling this out.
Well, and that's what I've got. So if you look front door greeter, Exhorter 7, Mercy is 6. So those are the two top ones for that team. And I would imagine Glenn took a test to find his gifts. I would bet that he would be high in the order and, you know, probably in those because he does such a good job
Yeah.
at being that person.
That's
He
why
probably
for
is
that, it's kind of like
high in
our
those.
ideal of who we want up front, because where does he get at this?
So I mean, that would be a good sanity check is when we put these numbers in, to have some of the people that are already running those positions that are really good at those positions, seeing what their gifting is and then see what their particular gifting falls as far as how we rated them, just as a sanity check to say, was it pretty close or is there maybe some stuff that we need to switch around? So yeah, that's true. We should be looking at both. So we can go ahead and assign these, but then, you know, like you said, look at people who are currently in those positions and just do a sanity check on the numbers. But
Yeah.
so the logistics admin and the front door team director, those are two different positions.
Mm-hmm.
The front door team director is the one who is doing more like what you were saying, teaching everybody what they need to do, doing the scheduling, you know, basically that same director position as what those other directors are. The logistics admin is really just a straight up serving everybody else and making sure they have everything they need and, you know, kind of connecting the dots and. Does that make sense?
I'm just wondering why we have two different people doing it.
Well, it's a different job. Like the logistics administrator also isn't just in the hallway. They would go to the classrooms out here and in the sanctuary, make sure everything's good, like time wise in there, and they're like the one person tying every piece together on Sunday morning. One or two people trying to tie the pieces together and make sure everybody has what they need and that everything's working as a unit.
Okay, well,
Instead
I guess
of-
I'm getting a little confused, because I thought that's what we were trying to get the ushers to be doing.
Well,
Not the front
they're-
door people.
That would be what it just wouldn't be called an usher.
Yeah, that's what we changed.
Then it would be basically the same thing.
Yeah.
So maybe the front door team, it sounds like we need to have some further discussion of what the actual full positions are under that and get Glenn and, you know, the larger team in here to try to finalize what those specific positions are. Cause I know when you made that spreadsheet, this is how it was set up, but, you know, that spreadsheet was made a while back, so, you know, we might have switched some things up, but, and
Well, we just
the
asked
way that I understand.
each team come up with what they need underneath it to make it run right.
The way that I understand it, Glenn is still in charge of that team, right? Isn't that what,
It should be. That's what he said. Yeah.
so So yeah, we can have him take a look at that particular list and make sure that that the positions are right, and then start to give input around filling those in. So I'm just gonna save this. We can jump down to the front door team, or the up front team rather. So I've got welcome and announcements, offering. I figured I'd put communion in there if we want to start to, might get some other volunteers to start to step in and help with communion. And then even preaching, I'm gonna, we'll have to rely heavily on your dad for that one, but I took a first shot at it. But so let's start with welcome and announcements. I have exhorter as 7, mercy is 6, leading is 5, service is 4, teaching 3, giving 2, and prophecy 1. I think everybody knows what welcome and announcements is and what that position entails. So what do you guys think? Any other thoughts?
I think that's pretty much right on the squabble over which one goes where, but for the most part, they're in the right order. Again, you just want kind of like a cheerleader up front,
Right.
bubbling person.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Anybody else have any other thoughts?
I agree.
So then on offering, I put, again, exhorter as 7, I put giving as 6, mercy as 5, service 4, teaching 3, leading 2, prophecy 1.
Why wouldn't you put giving up higher?
You mean make that a 7 rather than a 6? Now, real giving, just because giving is, are you looking at that giving is at the end? This
Okay.
order is just based on the total numbers.
Okay,
But for that particular position, giving is the second highest
okay,
gift for that particular position. So I put exhorter as being the most high,
Okay.
and then giving as the second highest,
okay,
and then mercy as the third highest,
okay.
and so on.
We're going to get into a little bit of a problem, because right now, the person doing the offering is usually doing the welcoming. It's getting to be, I guess because of who we are right now, we're just relying on the same person to do both.
Yeah, that's
roles.
true. That's true.
I guess my question is, down the road, do we want that separated?
Yeah, I think so.
I would think that it would be good to know the difference between the two in case we do wind up separating. I know there are some churches that do have those separated. They'll do welcome and announcements. The welcome and announcements, or at least the welcome piece, is what Steve does right after praise and worship. And then the offering is later on. And so we might wind up restructuring some stuff to where maybe rather than Steve coming in right after praise and worship, we do have someone else come up to just welcome everybody, and then offering as a completely separate piece, you know what I mean? So it would be good to know the differences, even though right now you're right, we do have a lot of this stuff all combined into one just because we don't have the people to separate it, but I think it's good to still kind of know what the gifting would be if we did break those out. But that is something, I guess, as we're doing this test, that is some stuff we would have to think about, as far as how we're currently structured versus what the test is saying. If somebody's like, oh yeah, I would love to be able to get up there and talk about offering, but, I don't really want to do the announcement piece, but, so we kind of have to, as we're kind of going through and paving this road, we'll have to
Well, I mean,
figure out what to do with some of those.
even when we do it together, we usually will have a couple people up there, and
Right.
one person will do one part and the other person will do the other.
Right.
I think it is pretty separated now. I
And the
mean,
people-
sometimes it's the same person, but
We only have it separated because Logan won't do it.
Yeah,
well,
dude.
fair enough. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You have
So
people
it
who
is
just wanna do
separated.
one.
Unless he has his hat on.
So it is separated.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yes and
Well,
no. I mean,
so
he's
we-
talking about like when Caleb does it, he'll do everything all together.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I think that's
Caleb.
fine.
it depends
but I
the
think
person.
as a general rule of thumb, they're two separate
events, but even if the same person does both, it doesn't make it combined as a like
As a
a
whole.
thing. Yeah.
And the
It's
feeling
just one
behind
person
it.
doing two things.
The feeling behind it is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we looking for an ideal for this, or more so a reality with these?
Ideal.
Ideal. Okay. I just know with my talks with people that I would put the prophetic gift higher up on the scale for offering, not
Yeah.
announcements.
I agree with you.
Just because offering is, as we know, a spiritual event that you are giving part of your resources, extra part of your resources over. And that requires a tremendous amount of trust. And that takes revealing the heart and mind of God to people in that. So, and this could be my bias with how I have done offering in the past, but I would actually place that higher than mercy.
What, prophecy?
Mhm.
I was gonna say the same thing about welcome and announcements. I think prophecy should be higher.
But I definitely think that the giving and exhortation are the highest on those two.
Okay.
But I would say that prophecy is higher up on the offering side of things.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what would you?
Well,
Yeah, welcome.
I think this is getting into a discussion of what we think that these should look
Mhm.
like.
Mhm.
Because if you put mercy higher, basically what you're saying is when we do these in front of the church, we want to come at it from a place of mercy. If you put prophecy higher, you're saying you want to come at it from a place of prophecy, like being prophetic and I guess sort of calling people to action or whatever with these certain items. So it just depends, I think, how we want to look at it as a church.
That's kind of why I was asking, like, do we want the ideal or the reality? So I was coming at it from the reality of where we are right now. But if we did want to take it more so from a mercy standpoint, then having mercy higher up would be the ideal.
Which I don't know the answer to, but I think that
Yeah.
we
I
would,
mean,
we
I
would
can-
have to decide that based on what we want those two items to look like.
I could I do tend to maybe sway to what you were saying as far as for offering.
Yeah.
That prophecy probably should be higher than what I originally put on here. I could see that having a little bit more of an impact. My initial thought when I was going through with this was that when you would talk about offering, you would want to approach it from an uplifting, mercy kind of it's about your heart type of giving. But like I said at the beginning of this, I'm fully aware that that tends to be my gifting anyway, so I'm going to sway that way with everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I could definitely see that probably prophecy should be higher on the list as
Yeah.
you're talking about that.
I like that. Now here's what I do like, is if you have the two people doing it that come up at the same
Yeah.
time, have a mercy gifted announcements person and a prophecy gifted offering person.
That's
And that-
exactly what I
Who
was
bounce
thinking.
off of each
Yes.
other and can balance each other.
That's the way I think it is now, though. Like, if it's me and my dad, he's obviously the prophecy, and the mercy, and even if it's Caleb, he's the prophecy when he's doing offering, and Dustin or I are the mercy when it comes to announcements. I think mercy should be high for announcements because you want to be feel good and you want
Yeah.
people to get excited about what you're talking about, and you don't want to teach at them or speak at them. You're just laying out what we have going on in the church. It's kind of not that deep when it comes to, unless it's like a prayer night, like that's, you can go deeper, but it really depends the subject matter. But I think an announcement is kind of a feel good, like, hey, welcome to Sozo, here's what we have going on.
Right.
And then when it turns into offering, that's when it gets
Deeper.
deeper.
And
For
there
sure.
is,
And I think that balance is a
yeah,
good thing. You don't
I
want
agree.
one or the other
Mm-hmm.
throughout the whole thing, because then at one, if you're just excited the whole time and offering.
No, the thing that occurs to me is not have to be careful not to paint ourselves into a box, because I remember someone that, and I hate people that do this, but here I am doing it, that used to do offering on Sundays, and he was clearly gifted teaching wise. And do you know what I'm talking about? And just, you know, him standing up there talking about, I never known anybody that could talk about offering so many different ways and give so many different examples, so many different scriptures about one thing, but draw you in and make you understand what this was all about. And it was his teaching gift.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that
Okay.
offering.
So
just, I
so
mean,
if we
it's just
say-
an asterisk to think about.
well,
Yeah,
let's do this. Does everyone agree for offering that exhorter would be the top?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good there. Do we agree that giving would be number 2 for offering? Do you
I
think?
don't.
No.
No? What do you
Yeah,
think
well,
number 2 would
is
be?
that-
I think number 2 is prophecy.
I
think
think
number 2 is prophecy?
Prophecy or teaching, but I would probably go teaching next.
I love that thought though, because giving, that is something that's like way more than, and we've been talking about it, than just giving your money. It's
Right. It's
and
there. I think there are people that have a heart and a gift for giving,
right.
but maybe not the heart and the same kind of gift for teaching and for getting that message across,
And understanding.
and for reading what's God telling it, and
you
delivering
said the
that.
reason why it should be lower on this one, we're not just giving,
Right.
we're trying to explain
Right.
why.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, that makes sense.
So
And
my,
that's
Yeah,
the
we go
difference.
prophecy
We're
6 and then
giving,
teaching
we're not-
5.
I think 6 and then
Yeah.
5. Okay. So we got prophecy 6, teaching 5.
I will say that, and I'm sure that we all know, but I would just like to put it out there that there will have to be a certain, for whoever wants to come up and do, obviously offering announcements, there will have to be some dialogue put there. You know, you have to, if you are a prophetic person, then don't go up on stage and start calling down hellfire type of a deal.
Yeah.
You know, go up there, you're supposed to go up there and be uplifting, you're supposed to go up there and be, giving hope and so on.
Well,
Even
that-
if you do get a mission or a message for offering that kind of seems a little off-putting, there are still ways that you can work with God to make that uplifting.
So that begs the question in my mind also is, what are we going to do with this? How are we going to use this against those positions that we're trying to describe?
What do you mean?
Like if somebody, has been coming here for 2 or 3 months and say, they'd like to be more involved, and this is what I'd like to do. So how do we,
So what the intent with this would be is if somebody comes in and they say, I'd like to be involved in the church, we'd say, great, why don't you take this gifting test? That'll help you and us understand where you might best plug in at the church.
Okay.
They'll take the test. The test first thing is it will tell them what their gifting is, if they're an exhorter or a teacher or whatever. And then once the test defines who they are based on however they answer a series of questions, then it will say, okay, you are high as an exhorter and a teacher. So based on those 2 primary gifts in you, here's all the positions that you probably do really well at. So it would look at everything that has a 7 under exhorter and everything that has a really higher number for teacher, and it will pull out those particular positions and say, you do well at logistics admin because you're an exhorter and a teacher. You see what I'm saying? So it'll give them their top list of things that they would potentially fit in based on their gifting. Then it would be up to them to look at that list and say, maybe the list would say, you'd be a great jungle room teacher and a front door administrator based on your gifts. Well, then the person looks at that and says, yeah, but I hate kids, so I'm never going to work in the jungle room. I would like to work up front. You see what I'm saying? They would be able to decipher at that point, based on what the program told them they could work on, they could choose which gift that they would, or which position they'd like to go to. And then under that position, like Caleb said, we as a church would have our standards on how we would want them to still do that. So if they scored high and offering was on their list, but their prophecy was a 7, we would say, hey, great, you'd probably do great doing offering for us. Would you be willing to do that position? They'd be like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And then you say, okay, but understand, as Sozo Church, when you do it, we do want to make sure that we come across loving and open, but we're allowing them to use their gift to present it kind of within a little bit of a standard that we have set for the church. But that's the point of what this test would do, is basically kind of like the way the seniors do in high school, where you take a test and it says, hey, based on how you answered these career opportunities would probably be a good field for you to pursue going forward. So
It's really just like a tool to give people guidance on where to serve if they don't know.
right
Now, and what it definitely isn't is like a test of, oh, your scores for whatever position weren't that good, so we're not going to let you do that. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
I mean, to some extent, we'll look at it that way, but
Yeah,
if somebody comes out and is like, I really want to be a front door person, like really want to, like their heart is really in it, and their scores don't show that that'd be a good spot for them necessarily, then that doesn't, just because of that doesn't mean we're going to say, oh, no, your scores were bad for that. No way, we'll put you there.
yeah.
Necessarily. You know, I mean, if
It's
somebody
probably-
has a heart for something, we can try them
Yeah.
and see if it works.
But
out.
it would also give us an opportunity, though, as a church, too, to be able to recognize, okay, this person is saying they really want to be on the front door team, but they scored a 7 in prophecy and a 6 in teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll let you try it, but
Yeah.
we're going to keep an eye on you.
Right, exactly.
Because based on your scores, we kind of feel like you might not be the best fit for that particular, you know. So, I mean, and that's the kind of discussions that we can have at that point.
Yeah.
But at least this gives us the groundwork to kind of know where their sweet spots are,
Yeah.
as far as where they would want to potentially serve. So,
And it'll take several years to get this fine-tuned to where it flows where you want it to be.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this isn't concrete today,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah,
you know? Because as we find something, hey, they're a pretty match with this smaller scores and they do a terrible job. Well, what look at,
Oh, yeah.
what are we looking at here?
Oh,
What are
yeah.
we missing? What order are we missing kind of a thing?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
yeah, and this doesn't. Yeah, and this obviously wouldn't mean that just because they scored high in a particular position that immediately they're going to excel when they step in. I mean, they might step in and just. We might be terrible at first, but you know, there's still going to need to be training. There's still going to need to be all of that. But this will at least give the first directional arrow to say they should probably go that direction.
And down the road, hopefully there'll be a pool of people who've taken this test that people, when they're short or needing help, they can look into that and say, hey, maybe this person could help me out.
Right.
We'll draw some people in.
Yeah, that's the other thing we could. I don't know how well we could link it up, but like our church community builder would be the place to do it. But we could link people up and have their scores in there, so you have a database
That's
of
cool. On their profile.
yeah, of like who ranked good at what and everything.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Well, it is 10:51. Let's try to finish this last one, and then we can wrap it up. So we've got 7 as exhorter for offering. We've got 6 prophecy, 5 teaching. What would be? I mean, I'm of course based on who I am, I'm going to lean more that I think mercy is the next one in line. But what's everybody
I'd
think?
go towards leading, then mercy.
That's what I was gonna say too, is leading.
So you think 4 in leading and then 3 in mercy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then service and giving.
I'd make service a 1, giving a 2.
2. Everybody agree with those?
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. So I'm highlighting the ones in yellow that we've kind of looked at. So we looked at those. We looked at. Well, we still got to do this one, but I'll let Logan do these. These are pretty much all fairly straightforward. So we still need to finalize the front door team, and then we need to look at the rest of these, and then probably finalize the Sozo Kids stuff.
Do we have the test to take?
Well, there's the 24 to double one, but we're gonna kind of and like change that a little bit.
Well, I was wondering if
We
it'd be
could-
beneficial if we took the test, so we kind of see where we were fit out on the test and see where.
I think we could definitely take the 24 to double one to, and it would give you a pretty good look at from
A
a
decent
from a
look.
gifting standpoint.
Mhm.
Right.
We don't have any of this stuff programmed yet,
Mhm.
but at least everybody could take that to get
We
an
at least can
understanding of what
match up where
gifting
we
is.
were at with, and how they fit with the other to get maybe a little bit better overall view for all of it anyway.
Yeah, so it would be good for us to be able to take that one, and then, like Dustin said, they're wanting to kind of look at the logic behind the 24 to double test.
It's not.
And kind of,
Logically, it's not a very good test. We could easily make a much better one.
Dr. Caroline Leaf's got a real good one too.
oh, does he?
In her
Okay.
book, The Perfect You.
Well, if there's, yeah, I guess that's the thing too. If you guys know of other tests that are already out there that would basically be a gifting test to tell you what your gifts are,
I took one
it'd be
that was
good
like
for us to look at all of
100
those.
something questions.
Because I mean, if there is something that's already out there that we don't have to redo, I mean, that'd be great. We just don't have to reinvent the
Something
wheel,
that's been
so.
tested and validated.
Yeah, yeah, so if anybody, if you guys know of stuff, just start bringing those in and we can start
Yeah.
to do that. But this second piece though is gonna be pretty custom to us as a church, so. And then, so the other piece would be for the Embrace team, for you guys to come up with your list, just like we did for the open team,
Mhm,
of what all the positions are and the different groups within Embrace.
mhm.
And then, obviously haven't even started on the linked
Jeez, Gail.
arms yet, but we'll have to do the linked arms as well.
I'm
And
warmed up.
basically go
You
through.
are warmed up. She's out there getting it.
And then for the Embrace team, as you guys come up with your list, go ahead and populate the numbers. You don't, we can plug them into the spreadsheet
Yeah.
later, but if you guys, during your meetings, if you can kind of go through this task and just start to rank them out, and then we'll populate it, and then do the same thing like we're doing here. We'll bring it to the larger group and have discussions and
Mhm.
try to finalize this information, so. Cool. Last thing, I guess, is we need to review tomorrow. What are the announcements? Who's doing announcements?
Also, it's St. Patrick's Day, when are we doing anything for it?
Gonna be serving green
According to
meals.
according to the calendar up there, it says
Green beer.
family meal is tomorrow.
What?
That's what it says, 17th. I don't know that
Well, we
anybody
missed that one
has
because
planned. I think we might have just put that up there initially when we were first trying to plan out the year, but
Hmm.
that one, it might not, I'm assuming there's nothing planned for it, so.
There's no,
I better not be.
Is your mom and dad still listening in? Be like,
No.
Tara, is there a family meal tomorrow? Wait and see if you get a text.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say probably no.
Yeah.
There's nothing planned for St. Patrick's Day special. It's just gonna be a normal Sunday tomorrow. Everybody can wear green though. We'll all wear ourselves
Can we
up.
have green coffee?
Well, if you don't, you can get pinched.
Can we have green coffee?
Oh, look at me.
That'd be
That's
sweet.
stress.
Why not green creamer?
Green cream.
Yeah, they can be spoiled. That's good.
Caleb, can you do welcome announcements tomorrow?
Sure.
What are the announcements?
I would like it if someone else could be out there, guys. So I'd like the two, like the back and forth type deal.
I did last week. Take this week off.
I did the last 2 weeks.
That's
So
true.
you,
did one by
so
that.
you and
You might
My
be
dad.
able to with Joe Lee.
Nick.
I think she
You
might
might
be.
Yeah.
Oh, Jolie would be good. If we
Yeah.
can get her.
Or my
We
dad.
need,
Good.
Or my dad.
Except I do
Or you
announcements
and-
that she
or
does
you and
operate,
Pastor
right?
Steve? Now, that's the one standard she has set. I do not want to do offering. She's like,
Nobody
she goes,
hackles
she goes,
her.
I will do welcome and
Nobody
announcements as long
hackles
as I
her.
don't have to pray. That's what she tells me every time. So, okay, so EMI,
Hoodies. Here's another one.
No, hoodies are
Lobby.
available, or are we still pre-order?
Pre-orders
Okay.
lobby.
in the lobby. Lobby
we
team.
did get a Kroger check for $105,
Lobby,
I think it was. I think
shoot.
I gave the Tara the other day in the office.
We're a
the
month out.
problem with the
Should we
lobby
announce
team
we
is the
have-
one where we don't have the teams established. That's
Should
the
we,
problem with the
should
lobby.
we
That's
announce
what-
anything with Easter, seeing how we're
Last week when we talked,
I'd
we were
wait
supposed to
one
have
more
that
week.
figured out by now.
I'd say maybe hint at it that we have an exciting
The week of
Easter
Easter, how many
plans.
places are on
Oh,
spring break?
it's too early to
Yeah, that's why
announce Easter, I think.
it's super early. But,
So am I announcing teams tomorrow or no? Or is Joey announcing teams rather?
We ought to be talking about it, cause
I think
We
it's
can-
easy to
we
run
can-
through the
we
gist.
can just come up with
When
just a
Kate
general
comes
slide
from-
that says
Join us in
front door greeters,
Okay.
and not have all the
Well,
particular positions like we did for the other one.
we know.
Just do a general.
We know like the gist of the roles, like coffee, front door, information desk, merch, logistics administrator,
So just lobby team tomorrow or lobby and sanctuary?
lobby team tomorrow.
yeah, just,
We did sanctuary last.
but that means we also need to have Sozo kids together for next week.
Mhm. So we'll come up with those. Did anybody sign up for anything for the teams? Did we get any connect
I
cards?
didn't get any. No.
I feel like we need to do a better job explaining step by step on how they sign up,
Mm-hmm.
I still didn't know.
rather than just
After announcing it, I still
generally,
didn't know.
rather than just generally kind of throwing it
'Cause
out there.
it's just so unclear what we do,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm the one announcing it, and I didn't even know what we're supposed to be doing.
to
If somebody wants to join
want
the
to
team.
sign up.
Yeah.
So we want them to take the Connect card,
Mhm.
fill out the Connect card with their name and all the forms that are on there, and then just write on the Connect card, how do we wanna say it, basically, I want to join the front door team.
Yeah.
Just basically handwrite it on the card so that we know that that's what they're looking for,
Mhm.
and then just hand the Connect card in just like we would for the first time visitors. And then we'll collect those cards
So that's for anybody in the.
for anybody, yep, anybody that wants to sign up to start to help volunteer.
We didn't get certain
Okay.
cards.
Yeah, that would be,
I'll work on
Yep.
that.
alright. Anybody else have anything?
Good?